All right, good people, and welcome back for another recap review here at Big Old Belt Media as we are jumping into episode 9 of season 2 of BMF. It is your usuals here, Lucas and Najir, doing what we do each and every week. And whether we are late or not, you still gonna get this work. And here we are, right on time for your weekly recap of each episode this season. Sir, first off, Uncle Lou, how you feeling? How you doing?
Man, whoa, whole pause, whole throat messed up. The moment I was about to say, I'm fine. I don't know what the hell happened there, Joe. But we're good. Getting into this crazy episode of BMF here.
Yeah, it is. Also, the new world order shirt. So I just have to too sweet.
Oh shit!
Quick.
I did. As much as we've been saying NWO, I never picked up that this damn hoodie said new world order.
Indeed, and crazy episode. As we always say, episodes 9 typically is that one. And this episode was good for me because one, I saw Heather was writing this, which when you're talking season 2, you're talking one or two names, and Heather, if you see her attached to it, you know it's gonna be a fire episode. Episode 9 typically are that explosive episode, so I guess they brought in the heavy guns for this with Heather, and I always get this other individual name wrong, but for a fact, Shaquayla, whatever. My deepest apologies.
Oh, it's about time. It's about time. It's about time.
Yeah, I mess up on names too. Shaquayla. There we go. Shaquayla. Shaquayla. There we go. Mims, which is the duo of writing. Then you have Tim Burton directing this episode. So you know, those episodes 9, the names attached to it, I already knew it was going to be a dope episode. And with this week, folks, we do, as always, got something for you. So at the channel right now, you are going to see 3 interviews. One being Mr. B. Mickey himself, Miles, which Lucas got a chance to talk to him. Kelly Hugh, Detective Jen. Yes, you know I was there for that. And then our third coming back is no other than Miss Lucille and Nicole White. So, hey, we're going to give you a snippet of one of those. We'll just roll the dice here. We'll just see which one of those it is. Yeah, it doesn't matter here. But y'all don't care. Y'all going to watch them all anyway. But anyway, here's a little snippet of one of those right here.
I'm sure you know how I feel. Nah, man, I love it. I love being able to play a character that people love and hate. Because they're able to see themselves in that character. He's such a real character and a relatable character to where the situations that he goes through, those are real situations that people go home to.
All right, folks, we're back here, and that means it's time for us to officially get into the recap review. You can watch that entire interview on the channel, available right now. So yeah, let's get right into it. And this episode, we are going back down to the A. But before we get down to the A, we get this scene where I was confused about what the F stood for in BMF. And I was like, Black Mafia, Fast and Furious, baby, because it's all about family. As we get the brothers.
I never made the correlation. But I'll be damned if it wasn't Vin and Paul side by side in the cars racing down. Damn it. I can't believe I missed that correlation. Completely missed it.
And just in case y'all thought I might even been reaching there, Demetrius bought right in because, as he said, BMF, we don't kill family. So it is what it is. Fast and Furious 10 is on the way. And then right after that, you got the BMF Furious 11 coming through. Vin Diesel crazy enough to do something like that too. He'll be like, we'll do it.
we'll pop up in the BMF episode and just do it.
For family. They've been everywhere but the hood.
What else is Tyrese doing? We can do this.
They've been everywhere besides the hood, so why not?
It's the reason why. It's the reason why. The fast cars will be on bricks, Joe.
But yeah, we got the BMF crew going down to Atlanta for Freaknik weekend, which I don't. How much of that content is out on YouTube? Because I seen VHS. Yeah. And I mean the OG, not the 21 Savage. Recently happened.
That was a party, but the Freaknik, from what I remember, I don't know if you're gonna find that on anybody's YouTube, nor should you. I remember HBO back in the day, Real Sex did a documentary of Freaknik, but you can maybe find that on somewhere, but you're not gonna find too much unless somebody mama got the VHS, but I'm pretty sure if she has it, she probably got that junk hidden away, because the way she was probably popping it down at Freaknik, at times I forget the age difference or around my age, not my age, but around my age, that technically folks in the 90s that were going to Freaknik are like in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah,
they don't want them tapes out there, Joe.
Nope.
They follow some of them deacons and pastors' wives, and you can't show Pastor wife down that joint, spreading that joint wide open for BMF.
I have seen some tapes from a friend of mine from his family, and we'll just leave it at that, as we are going to respect our elders here.
There you go. There you go. We will not speak on things that don't need to be spoken about anymore. That was in the past. They still gonna judge you for dancing too hard to certain songs.
Right. And just in case it hasn't been evident as to what's so significant about this weekend, because even Terry gave us the commentary about it, but like, if I could equate it into something kind of current, I guess you say Essence Fest with Tycoon and
it's definitely not Essence Fest. It's like one of the bike weeks, not necessarily the Myrtle Beach one, but it's another bike week.
Black Bike Week.
Very reminiscent. Yeah, Black Bike Week.
Yeah,
very reminiscent
I'll give you that.
With if you drop the age of the people by about 10. Because Freaknik was more about, it was young folks. It's like a Black Spring Break weekend. So we understand what spring break meant. We understand what it is for white people, the ones that we saw on MTV all the goddamn time. So I'm pretty sure you should have the idea of what it was like at Freaknik at that point in time.
And I think they showed some footage on the BMF documentary. I know they showed the footage when they went to Cancun. So
I think they showed footage of Freak. Oh, it's people with footage of Freaknik, but
for sure.
We met
a few of those folks. They want a premium dollar in order to release that. That's just what it is,
Hey, clearly someone said that. They was very adamant that the footage that they have, they need a cost.
Might see your favorite rapper.
Price. It's not today's price. He made sure to say that.
Might see your favorite rapper with your peoples in it in the same shot.
Or you fuck up, you might see your favorite rapper's mother.
And start doing the math there. I'll leave it at that.
So good. This makes so much sense now.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. But anyway, with all that bantering back and forth here, what did you think about sort of the difference in the mindsets between Meech and Terry as they head down there? There obviously is a beef between B, Mickey, and T, and there's obviously an importance about family. And while it seems Meech is trying to keep everything together, Terry is definitely like, listen, I don't trust that guy. And he starts to say the things that probably should have been said a couple of episodes ago, like, all that with Detective Brian and nothing? Somebody make this make sense. But anyway, what's your thoughts about just the triangular dynamics between these guys?
I mean, you put it perfectly. The issue has always been, I said from season 1, the issue was trust. That T never liked B Mickey. And it's always shown how much he doesn't like B Mickey. And I think this issue with Detective Brian gave the excuse even more so that he felt that Meech should get rid of B Mickey.
Yeah.
I think that's the game that Terry's playing here. But again, you put it perfectly. Meech's whole thing is like, he's my other brother. Like, and I'm going to be with him, and I'm going to have his back no matter what. I understand everything he's going through right now. This ain't the time where I want to bring more stress onto him. This ain't the time where I want to think about getting rid of him. Like, nah, this is a time through tragedy, through trauma. This is a time where families are supposed to get closer, and that's what Meech is holding on to. Yeah. But it's kind of odd because Terry doesn't see that at all. While he's also amazingly put them in very precarious situations over and over and over again. But he'll never see his issue because he just doesn't like B. Mickey.
Facts. So what's really interesting here, and just to kind of add more context, is I feel like the first season was more of a reflection and storytelling by Meech. And obviously with Terry being out and Terry commentary and narrating season 2, you start to feel the story reflect a different dynamic than we have typically heard about the brothers, whether the documentaries or whether it's from, and the numerous array of content, but whether it's from season 1 to season 2. So I thought this is very interesting that we see obviously a different philosophy between the two brothers, but we also don't see Terry, while there is disagreements, we also don't really see Terry actually like take an opportunity to make Meech look bad, even with this, because we know when they clash, it was bad. But even in this, he's just like, I thought this way, he thought this way, but we still were brothers no matter what. I think they showed that camaraderie amongst them throughout everything alive. Not, yes, I know there's adders in all of this, but I still think like the storytelling is still very much a showing of two brothers who absolutely loved each other no matter what what was thrown at them. But anyway, let's get to down on the yard, shall we say, now for Freaknik, where we get one of the PA dudes just going ham, completely harassing this chick, and Meech does intervene, and he's preaching about respecting women and whatnot. But he also meets this guy, Remy Ransom, who I Googled. So I didn't see anything about him, but I also got a good idea of what this is that they're talking about here. By the documentary, there's a couple of instances of, after the club incident. Yeah, so I figure there's probably a lot of like legal reasons why we need to make this as fabricated as possible.
Why we need to come up with the name Remy Ransom. Ain't nowhere in hell someone's name should be Remy Ransom. I'm automatically thinking you're a criminal. I don't give a damn if Remy Ransom worked at Amazon. I know you steal it. Your name is Remy Ransom.
But he gets introduced to Remy Ransom and whatnot, and they have their change of words, and the PAs they kick Shane out, say he's bad for business and whatnot, even though he's one of the top runners. What did you think about sort of Meech and how he just asserts his I don't want to say his dominance, but just his inferiority amongst everybody he's around?
Hey, one, I would say him sticking up for that young woman
superiority go ahead.
Is rare. Not for Meech. I know what Freaknik was. You know what they didn't do was stick up for women at Freaknik. No,
not at all.
That did not happen at all.
Yeah,
there are horror stories out about that. But here I don't think it was, even though they did a good job of portraying it like it was like the woman and you respect women. No, you don't bring heat down on us. The key part is the business, and he was being extremely at that point bad for business because you're drawing too much stuff happening. I can't remember, it was Meech pointed out to him, hey, what happens if he gets caught on a rape charge? Like, do you know how this is gonna happen? Like this is why you can't bring all your homeboys in every atmosphere, in every situation, because you don't know how they'll react to it. And that was Meech's main point with this. But just how he just always interjects himself in certain situations. At times, it does feel like he's flexing, because I think Shane, I think it's his name, right? I think he pointed out perfectly, like, you can't kick me out of this. Like, this ain't got nothing to do with you. Like we have a partnership here with you, but you don't run this organization. Like I'm just waiting to the point where that can possibly become a problem, because I thought it may become a problem here, even down when he said like, man, I kicked him out, but he's like one of my top earners. So you really shortened me by doing this without giving me a resolution to this situation. Like you're not offering me anyone else to replace this dude, but you want me to get rid of him. Like I'm wondering how much longer will this go about before someone questions him making these moves.
Yeah. And we've seen in other shows we review, when you kick people out and they feel like they're so intertwined in the operations and the financial contributions that they made, they run and snitch. But in this case, I doubt the snitching, but like you're definitely going to have some type of repercussions here. One way down the line.
Head right back to Lamar. You never know. You never know where they're going to go to.
Exactly. And even with that, we know what happened with Rim and Ransom later in the episode. But anywho, just to kind of get through some of these things here, because we just getting started in the episode here. We got Detective Brian putting the gun back in the safe, and we have the conversation between him and Kevin. Kevin is supremely convinced that his bully Marcus is the one kicking down his door, throwing him inside the closet and whatnot. But it's and I actually think this is an amazing portrayal of a young kid and what they believe their
to be true
superhero cop father should do. Because he said, listen, like do something, like protect me. And Detective Brian, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. While his son is giving him some unrealistic suggestions, but some are real, and he's talking about, well, we're briefing security. He completely just throws it off the table, says it ain't Marcus and whatnot. And then he says, but don't let Marcus have power over you. So now he's talking in reference of the superhero that he's created and reference to what superheroes do. The same person who also was not interested in the superhero stuff that he was doing. Well, what did you think about Detective Brian and his lack of handling of his son in terms of security or just validation of his feelings here?
Okay, not going to be a popular opinion, and I already know it's not going to be a popular opinion. I'm not going to fully disagree with the way he attempted to handle it, because what he did attempt to do was reach Kevin on his level, meaning you're into these things, so I'm gonna try to relay why you should feel safe to your things.
Should have been relating to him.
But my issue would have been very simple here. The moment he'd have brought up that kid's name to me, my caring would have ended, because I don't do well with you automatically telling me you fearing someone that much that you're allowing them to have that much control over you. I fully agree with them. We said, even if it is why does he have this much control over you?
Yeah.
Like, you worrying about someone busting in here. Somebody had you walk home in your socks. Like, come on, like, I understand the level of threat. I understand just how scared Kevin is here, because he's a kid.
Yeah.
And someone broke in.
Yeah.
It's only but so much reassurance I can give you before I'm also going to point out, I need you to man up. Things happen to people. Mm-hmm. If you're going to let things that happen to you dictate how you move for the remainder of your life, then he's right when later on in the episode when he said, yeah, go stay with your mother. Because what I'm not doing is this. Like, nah. Because at that point, I would feel like a failure as a father that I can't get you to man up in this situation.
I think there could be an argument here that he should feel that type of way. There's a lot of folks saying that like he could have did more in terms of what happened in school with the school visit.
See, but I don't even agree with that, because damn it, I need you to stand up on your own. If I have to fight every battle for you, what is the point? That means I am raising a punk that's going to go in the world, and no one's going to fight your battles when you get in the world by yourself. I can't be the person who fight these battles. You got bullied in school. You know what I need you to do? Stand up for yourself, because the bully ain't going to stop. Like, I could come around and the bully will stop, but then what's going to happen next? I don't even agree with him having Mickey beat up the kid. No, he will bully you every day until you learn how to stand on your own too.
Yeah.
and assert yourself, because that's the key part. I mean, other than that, are you going to wait, like you at your work life? You waiting for some other boss to come in and step in if you felt somebody was bullying you at work? Hell no.
Yeah.
Like, no. And I understand it could be the atmosphere that I was raised in, or the environment that I was put in once upon a time in my life, of me thinking, if someone did this to me, okay, I give you this one, but it'll never happen again. But I was also raised that way. I was raised by a black mom who told me, "Oh, you lost a fight and you're crying? You better go back down there and whoop his ass, because if you come back in his house crying again, I'm gonna beat you." You know, it's that extreme toughness that you try to raise him with, and he is at times he comes across very soft with Kevin, because he understands that he possibly has a kid that's more emotional, and Brian tries his best not to push his full belief on the Kevin of what he should do.
Let me add some more context. We'll just stay on Kevin, because you're saying some interesting things here. I also think that Detective Bryant has this complex of, like, he handles everything and everybody watches him. And I think that was a testament to, like, how he was with his ex-partner, kind of like, hey, sit back, I got this, don't come, I got this. I think we kind of see that kind of bouncing around sometimes with Detective Jen. And I think as his son, he's just like, I'm your father, I know what's right for you. And then that's it, you know. And to the other part I wanted to throw in there is that, well, when we hear Detective Bryant speaks with his ex-wife, which I'm very surprised they didn't just cast somebody for this.
Yeah, maybe that's coming, because that's a very odd character to leave out.
Yeah, but we heard the phone call. There was a different philosophy. She said, "Get Kevin therapy." He said, "I'm getting him taekwondo or karate, one or the other," and that's a mindset of how the difference between their approach. And then he completely went off and, like, got off the phone because they couldn't agree. I don't think he needed that. He needed this and hung up the phone. So with that, and with you seeing him trying to kind of be sort of say productive in trying to get him in a right track and self-defense or whatever it may be, do you think that Brian is just trying to release some of his power here, or is he just having a conflict in parenting?
It's a clear conflict in parenting, and I know people are going to see, especially the way he just dismissed the notion of Kevin going to therapy.
Dude,
I understand. Now we live in a world where this is readily accepted, that you should go to therapy, that these are things you should talk about and work out. Back then, so I got to go in the mindset of someone back in the 90s.
Yeah, no, just go back like 3 years. What you talking about?
Yeah, pre-pandemic. Yeah, like therapy. No, especially again, it goes back to the thought process of Bryant believes Kevin is soft.
Yeah,
I need you to be able to defend yourself, because guess what? I hate to say it, and I know it sounds bad to certain people. You go to therapists all you want to. Work out all your emotional problems. Guess what? That bully ain't an emotional problem. He's still going to be there. How are you planning on dealing with him? Yeah. That's what's going through Brian's head. That's why he said, man, taekwondo. So I need for him to be able to defend himself. Therapy is a great tool. You know what else is a great tool? Physically learning how to defend yourself. To me, they go hand in hand here. So you shouldn't have a situation where you're saying he needs one thing, no, he needs the other. Again, this is a clash between two parents, but it's a clash between two parents who don't understand both of their ideas is right. And he should be doing both of them, not one or the other. And that's the issue. And just another notion out there for people out there. If you know any guy who grew up in the streets and has kids, and he's made a life so good for himself that his kids don't have to live the life that he grew up living, I want you to watch them when their kid gets into something. It's the face of disappointment, the show of disappointment that comes across their face is that I feel like I failed them because I wanted this perfect life for you away from the hood. I needed you not to grow up in the same way I grew up, because that's what it is between Brian and Kevin. While Brian possibly grew up extremely hard. That's why he has the respect of the hood. That's why he's a cop. all he's done is made a better life for his son. Guess what? That means your son can't learn any of those principles that you learned to be a man with. And now he's lost. This happens to so many men that grew up in this atmosphere where you have these kids and you make this better life for you and you realize, great, I made this amazing life for you. You're book smart. You're all of this. I taught you nothing about how to move in the streets. I taught you no way to be able to defend yourself because my goal was to take you out of this atmosphere. And that's where I see the issue between Kevin and Brian. And it's so obvious because he's so disappointed when anything happens to Kevin. That's why at the beginning with the superhero stuff, he just tossed it aside like, no, learn to defend yourself. But you're raising him to not have to do that. Yeah, it's the street man's contradiction. Yeah, that always comes up. What happens when you raise your kids to be actual kids and not have to grow up as hard as you did? Guess what? Your kids are going to be soft to you. How are you going to deal with your kids being soft?
And this is why I say it's probably and as much as my initial thought in saying this was like, is it a parental conflict? And that seems to be like a statement about the two of them in co-parenting. No, I think it's about him as just a single parent trying to distinguish, like, how do I navigate something I thought I got right? And now I see it completely blowing up in my face. I even got to go back to even the resort of like, I gotta communicate with him through the superhero medium because it worked. And I think he's not struggling, but I think he's like going down a path that he never thought he was going to have to do. But let's just call it what it is. Detective Bryant, not a good cop, but I think he's a successful man. And I think he feels very confident in all of his actions. And I think that there may be more to also say to this about Detective Jen and how she is influencing him in his life. But let's get down to some other things real quick when we'll have a little bit more to talk about with that. We got Alvin and Lamar, who Lamar comes out and says he's struggling to offload bricks. And then he just goes off and treats Alvin like he's his son. He tells him, like, don't talk to me. He's through his TV. I mean, if I ain't know no better, I said that is a grown man completely abusing his child because he just was not having it. Like, for real.
The biggest temper tantrum in the world.
Absolutely.
That's what that was.
Absolutely.
Man, Meech froze me out. I don't like this anymore.
That dude,
I was the 13-inch TV. Man, Joe, I was mad as hell, Joe. But again, this is what Meech wanted to have happen. Yeah. That's why he said freeze Lamar out. Like, if we freeze him out and no one buys from him, guess what? You're the king of what then? You're the king of nothing. Because no one's coming to you for anything. Yeah. So the mindset that we see Lamar in this episode is what Meech wanted to have happen.
Yep. Absolutely.
And it's a smart way of handling somebody like him.
For real. He's in a whole nother state, getting it down.
Yep.
We got the detectives. Well, we're back at the station. We have Detective Jen, and we have a new detective, Detective Dablin, something like that. He comes through and he's just like letting everybody know, they've made a move. We'll talk about that in a second. Introducing himself, but also they made a move. But Kevin shows up to the station. Oh, because at this point he's saying, hey, there's a visitor. Kevin shows up to the station and he reports about Marcus breaking in, about his dad having a new safe, how he doesn't feel safe at home or school. And his father comes in and he says, listen, why can't you protect me? And we talked a lot about that. So there's nothing really to make here. Besides, I'll say that Marcus feels comfortable with Detective Jen. And I think that is also really helping this family situation right now. That's making listen, I'm just gonna say it. And I know we're gonna be talking to Steve soon. So I'm just gonna say it and you can talk to him and I'll just be somewhere.
Well, you already know you're not allowed to talk to him. He already told you that multiple times.
Detective Bryant is as man as a man is Charles is. And with that being said, if you've seen our interview with Charles twice at this point, you know what I mean when he said he's a man's man, and he gave a very, very clear depiction of this era, which I need people to remember the era of where this is taking place.
Mm-hmm.
I am extremely confident, and I don't condone it, but I'm extremely confident if Detective Jim was not involved, he would have smacked his son up a couple of times over by now.
My God.
Teleported him to his mom's house.
I ain't gonna lie to you. If that was me and that would have happened, I wouldn't have slapped you. But boy, you got out that chair real quick because I'd have jacked your ass up so fast. And the first thing would have been, come on my mouth, and I know it's wrong to people. I ain't gonna say it's wrong on me. I know that people don't or disagree with this. It'd have been, stop acting like a little punk. What do you mean you're scared? All right, we're gonna go to the school, and you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna fight this person. And if he whoop your ass, he whoop your ass. But guess what? You're gonna at least put a mark or two on him. You need to break this fit. Oh man, this thing can kind of break you, because I know people are gonna look at it like, oh, look at Kevin, he's crying out for help. Nah, you're not. You're running away from your problems. Brian said it perfectly. Running away from your problems is gonna get you nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's kind of odd that they did this with Kevin. Like, they literally took Detective Bryant, who is a man's man, like Charles said, from this time period, and gave him a kid from 2023. And you're like, what the fuck is this?
That's an interesting.
What am I to do with this?
That's an interesting dynamic here.
Yes.
Because we seen Meech and Terry young, and they were scrappy.
Yeah.
That's an interesting take here.
Because you got to have a certain. Kevin is really like a kid from this time period. You got to be more kind, more gentle. They do need more talking to. So when I'm saying I would have done this to Kevin, I'm thinking of a mindset of me being in the 90s. I fully understand that time period. Nowadays, you got to sit. We got to have a conversation. We have to talk. Come on. I have a couple of 16, 17, 18-year-olds. I understand this conversation that you have to have. And you have to sit down and be like, okay, well, how are you feeling about this? Did this work out in your favor? Well, if this is bullying that's happening, well, let's go to the school. We'll sit down with the other parent and talk. I know these conversations, but I also have little knuckleheads who also are the reverse and be like, oh, no, we fighting. Like, if I punch you in your face, I'm pretty sure after I punch you, I literally had one of them tell me, if I punch someone in the face, I'm pretty sure that'll stop the bullying. So I'm just gonna punch him in his face and see where we go from there.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, oh, okay.
and honestly,
resolution.
And honestly, like, listen, y'all, if we didn't have so many shows we was covering, we definitely can just do like a deep dive in particular aspects of this, because this is a conversation I think we can pull another 40 minutes on. But like, honestly, too, the way how these kids right now aren't even afraid of their parents or any parental figure. It's so jungle out here. So granted, if you got these kids not afraid of adults, another kid better not be afraid of another kid. Like,
that's my biggest problem. That's my biggest problem. That fear is instilled from your parents to the respect you should have for every adult.
Yeah.
I don't care. I grew up in a time period where my mama used to tell me, anybody over 18, you ought to say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. That's the way you comment, because they are an adult. You are a kid. You stay in the kid's place. That didn't mean that we couldn't have conversations. That didn't mean I couldn't disagree with things. But in the end, like, I'm a kid still. Yeah. And here with Kevin, I think that's the issue with him and Brian, is because he's so scared, and because Brian is not equipped to deal with a kid this way. That's why he's so mad that he's like running away. Brian just sees him being a sucker, and he's running away from an issue. Something Brian could never imagine himself.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So we have Lamar and Monique, as Lamar comes through with flowers. He comes down opening up a college fund for Zoe. I mean, like, Lamar is really trying to turn the page here for their relationship. Beyond that, and giving a ring and talking about he want to be the best version of himself. Is he playing the game, or is he being sincere?
Oh, he's clearly being sincere. Lamar he's in love, and he's always loved her. So I've never questioned that about him. What happens later on the episode, I have big questions about, because I didn't even see how the hell that even came to him thinking that, besides him just being extra paranoid. But I think the love has always been genuine with Lamar.
Okay, yeah, I absolutely agree. It's just interesting to see We'll talk about it. Anyway, we down in the A. We got Goldie returning. Oh, it is. What's her favorite statement? I'll let you have the honors here, because when we talk about Monique,
my sweet babies, my sweet babies.
And I gotta say, I love this scene because Monique, who we obviously have missed on television, a comedy special is on the way again. This is one of those situations where you just leave a blank in the script and you say, do what you have to do. Because she comes in as we see her meeting B Mickey, who she has questions about, and Meech vouchers were family. And then, Mickey kind of flexing a little bit, wanting to know about her operations and what's happening. And beyond that, we have Meech on the other side talking about, cleaning money through the club, and they're assessing the level of trust here. And also there are other objectives where we see T saying, listen, we need a realtor. So she said, I got somebody, I got Stephanie, we're gonna meet there. But Goldie makes it very clear about how trust operates. She's not so, yeah, I know you're cool, but not so, yeah. And also school and B Mickey, because whatever you just tried to slander me about, let me get you hip. And I love how she do that, all while flirting with the Flenory brothers at the same time. I think, honestly, this is a masterclass of somebody who you just say, there's good acting, there's great acting, and then there's folks that you just say, yeah, they're gonna do what they do. Period. Yes. Blank yes. Canvas, and a priceless art piece comes from out of it. And I think Monique, in these moments where you get this, you honestly, and ever since she's been casted, and this was her big return, where 50 vouched for with all the stuff that was happening, even with how much she's respected, you can tell she's still very gracious, and you can tell in this scene that this was a moment of her, by all means, being happy to be a part of this and just living in that moment. It was a fantastic scene by her. And I really wish from 9 episodes we got more than 2 with her. We owed about at least 5 folks.
I think we're gonna get a heavy dose of her next season. I think so this too. Is just an introduction. This scene here is why the Oscar winner Monique is so important to this show. This is a hell of a scene here. And this is also why I respect Miles so much as an actor. Because technically, this is him going toe-to-toe in a very short time period with Monique. Because he has to play the little asshole here. And the way... It's the elegant way you can be checked and it not seem overly disrespectful. Because she completely checked him on her business. This is one of my ex-girls. She's a former stripper. And he's like, would you want a stripper improvement course or something? She said, that's exactly what I'm doing, little nigga. Like, it was a way to put you in your place and to make you understand this is the way my business operates. I'm out here trying to uplift folk, letting you know, like, hey, what you have between your legs is highly important. You can't use it to succeed in the world. But if you put what you got between your shoulders in play, you can become unstoppable. Yeah. And the way B Mickey reacted to what she said was the key part, because he reacted like, "Oh, I'm truly sorry," like, because I didn't mean to offend you this way, like that is, and he said it the whole time while she's still flirting with Meech. It's hilarious here, Joe. But this is the talent of, this is the level of actors that BMF has, and this is what helps to separate them from other shows. I hate to say it, other shows on STARZ, is that the level of actors. These are Emmy, Golden Globe, Oscar-winning actors on this show. So when you see them in these scenes and they can pull this off, this is something that you don't normally get on other shows.
Yeah. All right, let's keep getting down it. We still got a lot more of this episode. So we got the detectives and Jen apologizing about Kevin, talking about the breaking and whatnot, and Brian said, listen, I'm not gonna file a report, but he talks about, like, listen, I'm a roll up with a bully. She says, I could roll with you, but obviously no. And then he said, hey, check up on the K9 investigation with the DEA, obviously to divert the whole situation is happening here.
There you go.
We got Meech, and at this point now, Meech sees someone on the ground, and this is a moment we'll talk about. Let me go over the events, and then we'll talk about it later. But Goldie steps in, pushes him out the way, slams the door, and we are revealed who this person is, but we'll just say, listen, Meech left because Meech, whatever he saw, he was like sort of just alarmed,
just thrown off by
off. He just didn't know what was happening, but he also saw like what Monique was willing to do at that moment. But we'll talk about it later in a second. So after that,
I'll ask real quick. You knew exactly what it was, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, Meech, and bring it up obviously when we get to it later. So Meech says, "Listen, I was ready to go." And that was just a lot as they get into Ty Washington's new spot. This is again, we're going to come back to the previous scene, but this is lesson 2 in what the previous scene was the introduction to. But he sees Ty Washington's new spot, and he talks about wanting to put a flag down in Atlanta. And Ty said, "I don't want to step on my toes and whatnot," but they kind of worked it out about how it's going to happen and whatnot. He says, "Listen, this is the first stop coming from Miami. Got the Colombian Connect. This is what we're going to do and whatnot." And then Ty Washington's wife makes sure that she shows a message of what family is. Family. It just says, "Hey, stay for dinner." I thought there was something metaphorical with this scene. I don't know if I'm reaching, but I'm going to throw it to you and ask. There was a thunderstorm happening in the background for whatever reason. Unnecessary if you didn't think about it. But obviously things are for a reason. Do you think there was something metaphorical about the thunderstorm being in the background of this conversation between it? Or was it just ultimately what the conclusion of this episode was? But do you think
it was obvious. You saw the good. I mean, from a mile away, you could see what the conclusion of this episode was going to be. But I just thought nothing about thunderstorm. I just thought, oh, so this is the way we get to meet Carisha. That's it. That was the key part here. Like, she was cast in this season of BMF and hadn't really seen her. I'm like, okay, we haven't seen her yet. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, here you go. Young Miami shows up here. Like, I said, okay, this is the whole setup for. I guess this is going to be what catapults Meech truly into Atlanta. And again, you can see from a mile away how we were going to get to the conclusion of this episode, because certain things move in certain ways, and then you automatically know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
Especially when you introduce the wife, and the wife happens to be someone as famous as Carisha, because it's not I don't believe it's going to be a one-off.
Yeah. And all I know is that Black Twitter, the women are having a good old time with Ty Washington. So I saw somebody tweet that, "Oh, he's gonna be in this episode." So unfortunately for you all, much for our desires of seeing more Monique. For the folks that want to see, I keep forgetting his name, who plays Ty Washington. It's that type of show. Your favorites don't get to stick around long. No,
not at all. Not a BMF.
But as I mentioned, the F in this is Fast and Furious family. And again, this is the second lesson of family. And I'll talk about it more in a little bit. But Lucille lets Charles know, I ain't no kid, because I'm a curse when it comes to Lucille later. Obviously, it's a pleasure to talk to Nicole again. And I think the way she breaks down Lucille's mindset in this episode, watch that interview, folks, is going to clear every bit of uncertainty that you have about the type of woman she is. I love it. But
I mean, they should know by now. Lucille, let it be known.
Yeah, well,
you asking me what time I'm coming home.
There's some folks on Black Twitter basically like, how she still giving Charles chances. Charles been done, but she let Sean know.
What it is? It's the kid. It's the people on Black Twitter that are under the age of 25. The ones that think you can just leave a man because he cheated. And the real women who fully understand, like, cheating is cheating. Like, we can move past that a little bit, What I mean? Like, it ain't that big of a deal. It's not the number one deal breaker anymore.
Yeah. So she goes out with Pastor Swift, and obviously, as you said, it's like she told Charles, like, I ain't no kids or whatever. I'm grown. I don't have a curfew. Night. But when she goes there, Nicole is asking about dinner, and also asking, like, if you're like married, like, why stay married if you're not happy? And Nicole's obviously just frustrated with her parents. I think now we're getting an emotional side of Nicole, an emotional sort of the effects of what's happening with her parents, and we're seeing it play off with the one sibling that has to see this day in and day out, as she is pretty fed up with her father, but now she's seeing like the emotional changes with her mother. And we'll talk about Nicole in a little bit as well too, because right after this we see Lucille and Pastor Swift at dinner, and he's talking about temptation of the flesh is the powerful thing. And she says a very emotional statement where she says, every man in my life has betrayed me and has broke my heart. And well, it's cool because Pastor Swift also is going to add his name to that list as well too, as he puts his hand on her leg. And he says, I don't need to be covered, I need to be counseled. And I just think if y'all had any bit of questions as to what type of man Pastor Swift is, when that check came out, and so go take that thing back and split it right down the middle here. I feel like, unless there's something you want to say, because I think that Nicole really broke down all of these scenes with her character and really cleared up a lot of who Lucille is at this moment. But is there anything you want to kind of chime in on what's happening with Lucille between these two scenes here? Oh, maybe Swift. Swift.
Look, because all that popped in my head was the humor of this whole scene of him saying, go ahead, nah, bless you, take that back, split it right down the middle. It's no problem going Dutch at times if you don't give up what the pastor won't, because that's what happened here. Because his intentions were very clear what he wanted here.
Oh, he knew what was happening.
Like, oh, but it's more messed up that he came to that man's house to pick up his wife, and you his pastor. Like, that is absolutely craziness right there. But again, everything with Lucille here makes sense. It's someone who is struggling, that her marriage is falling apart. Like, she's not going on this date because she hates Charles. She's doing it because she's trying to get payback. But she doesn't know how to do that. Because in the end, she's still a woman of God who wants her marriage to work.
Yeah.
It's just that she's in a dark place right now. And at times, people lash out when they get in dark places. That's it. And Pastor Swift is just a predator. He hopped on this immediately. And everybody should have known who Pastor Swift was after he pulled the gun out at church on Lamar. You know exactly who he was. Joe.
Absolutely. Goon squad.
I was most surprised Charles, being the man's man, didn't whoop the pastor's ass for coming to my house. My
oh man. So yeah, we got Detective Brian at home. Detective Jen shows up, and she said, listen, I thought you could use some company, and they're right back at it. Nothing to be made here. And I think if you want to make something here, just keep a look on Detective Jen's eyes. As if you check out our interview with Kelly Hugh, you will also get a very understanding of what's happening here with this scene. A lot of content here, folks. We get Lamar and Monique, the paralegal, because whatever.
Finally, I got it.
Yeah, just
if they cut lines up with a paralegal card, I was wondering why she was able to go in there and be a lawyer. Okay,
but they're hitting lines, and then that good old crack comes out. And with this,
who the hell does coke, and then say, you know how we can really get this party started? Crack. No, nigga, no. That's not how we get any party started.
You know what's interesting though? You're bringing up something, and I don't know if you're actually about to dive into this, but like, that's where she fucked up.
Because 100% so.
Yeah,
you
because
can't bring out crack, Diet Coke, nigga. I got Coke right here. I don't need Diet Coke. Nah, why are you bringing out crack?
And that's where she messed up, because Lamar's a street dude and he knows this. She isn't. So she had no clue. She just thinking like, all right, well, if I get him warmed up with this, then he'll want this. It could almost be as alarming as like, I don't do drugs, but like if somebody's offering me, I don't know, like, I guess we'll just talk about Your Honor really quick. But like if somebody was offering me Louis the 13th, and then they're like, well, do you want a shot of Paul Masson next? The first I'm thinking is like, okay, was that really Louis the 13th? Or like, hold on, like,
what the fuck are you giving me here? Yes. That was clearly the part that she messed up on, because why would that be a correlation of even trying that? That's why Lamar perked up and said, you tried first. That makes no sense. Who the hell is giving someone crack? To do what? For sex? When did cracks work for sex? I don't smoke crack. I don't endorse crack.
You ain't never seen a crackhead where they're the crack house, it is like a fucking orgy fest.
Exactly. That shit just puts you in a state where you can't do nothing. It was a weird thing for her to do. And it was the first time I think we've seen this season with her and Lamar where all of his antennas went up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he knew this not you.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
And everything she said, coming at him the wrong way, and then you went right back into his wheelhouse. So
she literally told Meech, don't come at him like a street dude. And you came at him like a street dude. Like, wow, who would think you would want to do crack?
Yeah.
Like, crack? My nigga, that's an odd drug to pick.
Yep.
You could have did heroin or something. Crack, though?
Yep.
Wow.
So she gets choked out to death. And that's just what it is. He kirked out, and he responded in a way the way the true Grim Reaper does.
The way people should respond when you offer them crack. You fucking offered me crack. You done lost your goddamn mind, Joe.
Oh man. So Detective Jen, Detective Brian, she gets up in the middle, nice sneaking around. She finds B Mickey wristband. Which they had to give us the flashback here because no one was going to know what that was. That would have been an extra long, like, what is that? But but anyway, she comes back to bed because he gets up and is like, whatever, I'll warm you up, and gets the blanket and whatnot. But we go back to Ty Washington's spot as he now further explains the significance of family. Talks about his fake chain, talks about how home life and family is the only thing that makes all of this worth it. And then they finally make the declaration of going where we all know where all roads lead to when you get down to Atlanta. Magic City. I think we just had a question, was Magic City running in?
Magic City.
There's so many more options there, but it's still operation. I think they still have their night that everybody goes to. Mondays, right? Yeah, I think it's Mondays. I don't know. Anyway, I'm way out the game.
I ain't even heard of Magic City in like 10 years, Joe.
Yes, yeah.
That joint is going up there like with Room 112. It's like, it's one of them things where you like, it's been a while.
Yeah.
And somebody said, I can't wait to go to Magic City. No, I can wait. I can wait.
And Freaknik weekend, I mean, it's got to be jumping in that giant.
Oh, no, that's a different. Yeah. Man, if I could go back in the 90s and go to Magic City during Freaknik weekend, look here. I may do a little crack. You never know.
I may choke your ass out. Like, bro, what you doing, dog? Anyway, Lamar calls Alvin because after he chewed out his son, he says, I need your help. I cannot believe he had ashes on his face, and he said it's Blackie. Lamar is such a child, and it makes no sense that all this happened. But he explained that Monique was turned on him because Meech did it. The phone rings. Alvin very wisely says, don't answer it, and it is Zoe asking about her mother. He says he loves her, and she says nothing, and hangs up the phone. And he
just became the number one person in her murder.
Absolutely.
You answered that phone.
Absolutely. So Detective Jen back in the office, and she's asking about Mrs. Mickey transfer. Talks about then she tells right after that, she goes right to Detective Bryant. And I love this because practice what you preach. Talked about transparency this entire season. Goes right to him. Didn't even let it breathe. And says, I found B Mickey's hospital bracelet at your house. And this is where all the stuff comes out. Almost all the stuff comes out. A lot of it came out about, he had her transferred. She later died. And then, that's just why B. Mickey knocked down the door because of that and whatnot. But obviously he didn't tell her everything. She was able to read through the lines and whatnot. And yeah, this is strike 2. And from here on out, he says, I'm going to tell you everything, whether you want to hear it or not. So we're going to see what that means for next week.
Oh, I know exactly what that means. That means it means no more hiding. You will no longer be an innocent bystander of what I do.
Yeah.
If you want me to be honest with you, that means you got to take all of this in.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I don't think Jen is actually prepared for Brand to be that honest with her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So BMF crew at Freaknik weekend, they meet Dice. And B. Mickey's not one to dap anybody new, but they said, listen, we're going to link at Magic City. And this is their way of setting up business. And, Meech says, this is why I need you here to also expose, what's going down in the A, to kind of get him motivated to want to be in the area, but also seeing how he does everything. Lucille is having a conversation with Nicole because she's not eating. She's depressed and says, you always taking care of everybody. Let me take care of you. Miss Mabel shows up, gives the skillet back. And then this is like, hey, I wanted to talk to you about something. She said, listen, Charles is having an affair and I knew something was wrong. And I know you've been through something like this before. And while Mabel looks through her purse, she pulls out some matches. She does smoke, so this makes sense. Perfectly makes sense. This is not a coincidental like, oh. But anyway, because remember, she smoked immediately on the side of the bed after Charles didn't give her the round that she wanted. But Lucille looks at the matches, put 2 and 2 together and says, oh, okay. I was depressed, but now I'm pissed. And Nicole is listening on. And the very holy Miss Lucille Flenory has left the building, folks, because she is cursing her out. She grabs the skillet. And she said exactly what all the Black Twitter been saying. I thought he was over there patching your walls, and he's been patching your dress. So, but then she calls her bitch, says, stay away from my family. You're dead to me. As she says that to Charles, I think. No, she says that to her. And then smashes Charles' guitar. And then she looks at Charles and says, every bit of love I have for you is gone. And then Charles tries to do something, but Nicole steps in and says, you've done enough. Let it go. Again, Nicole broke. She should have just been part of the whole recap here because she broke this down. And if you haven't saw the interview yet, just take a look at her background. She's busy. Maybe she might be filming something we're interested in seeing very soon. Who knows?
But also, this pay attention to a nice callback. It's great when they give you callbacks that you don't expect to see. Remember when they were talking about the plan or how to move these drugs? What's the first thing they said? When you stay at a motel, don't take no matchbooks or nothing with you, because it's an easy way to track where you're at. And look, reveals everything.
That's a good call.
He even said, and we didn't even mention last episode when Terry also brought up, hey, don't even take receipts from them places. Everything can be tracked. That's how Charles got caught, and you turn around, that's how Mabel gets caught. It's just a nice little callback to, if they moved the proper way, there'd be no way you would have been caught.
Yep. So we have Terry at Freaknik doing business his way inside the car. He's not saying meet me at Magic City. He says, let's just get this done here, and that's just what it is. We get Brian on the phone with his ex about how to handle Kevin, and also gets the news that they have got Boom, who is Markeisha's dude. The other dude who's also moving work and whatnot. We get to Magic City. And this is interesting because the first thing we see is the whole crew pulling up and the guy in the wheelchair. You're like, well, who's that? Watch the documentary here, because this shows you that Meech is understanding that, like, when they go to the club, BMF,
everybody go to the club.
Everybody goes. And we'll make sure, whether you are handicapped, disabled, or whatever it may be, you're going in first. That is a small little nugget that they put in this that I thought was really dope. That's really true to who they were. So I like how they did that, Because like I think any other time you're like, wait, what? Most of the time the bosses do go first. You know, you want to be the first on the scene so everybody know like who's coming through. But it made it very clear, like, listen, now we let homeboy go first. So that was cool. But anyway, B Mickey's in this club looking hella nervous for whatever reason, but we'll find out why. He meets this stripper who is introduced to him by Monique's cousin, that little girl that's in the club because she has the connections here. And I'm pretty sure that's her because that looked like a young girl, and I think that, you know, Meech knew her, so that had to be her, but you know, whatever. But anyway, Meech is fucking in the club because he goes to the black light room, and meets Cordelia, who has glitter all over her face.
Hell of a Cordelia.
Struggle Island here. I'm trying to pronounce that. And he gets glitter all over him. And I cannot believe that the next scene he didn't have any glitter on him, because I was absolutely looking for that shit, like thinking like, bro.
Well, no, it's the black light room. Remember? So she has to paint on her and it highlights everything. So when you're in normal light, it doesn't show.
Okay,
I'm trying to. That's what I'm thinking. You know, look here, you don't go to the boom boom room and bring out the boom boom room, which you got in the boom.
That's
boom
what
room.
I was saying. You know, that's what I was saying. Off. But I think this scene was
no more.
What's important about this scene is this is how Meech gets his, well, the name we know him to go by.
That is not the way he got that name.
I know that.
Ain't no way in hell, because if that's the way he got his name, under no circumstances moving forward will I call him Big Meech. Not a chance in hell. I know. But I also, for the show purposes, though, it makes sense to just to give you the correlation to hear the name Big Meech.
Or maybe it was maybe you can correlate it as like this was like the trigger for him to say like, oh yeah, maybe I should start going by Big Meech, and then, you know, eventually the real way of how he assumes the name wasn't this, but maybe this was like the little a story somebody just knew. It's like, oh, I got it because some girl blah blah blah. So
a stripper said that about him, and then he started going by, because I don't want no stripper naming me.
Yeah, exactly. Especially Cordelia. But everybody in the club doing their thing. They meet Stephanie, the realtor. And this is where Monique has the conversation with Meech about her baby sister Sandra, who is dying from AIDS, and she explains about how she has to care for her every day and lessons about caring for somebody. And this was lesson 1 of what it means to be family. And I think she says, no matter what, how bad, how good, the lows and high, I'm there every day for her. And Meech is like, man, this is a lot. He's like, whatever. She's like, whatever. You have to do it. And I think we're seeing the programming of him being the leader from all these different people, Ty, and people he respect in the same business, shall I say, grooming him in order to say, if you're going to actually be family, you need to know these lessons. I thought this was this is why this episode's so good, because it's really good storytelling behind not just wearing the chain and say BMF saying we're family, but understanding that, like, and the documentary does give us the real life depiction, but for the serious sake, besides just putting on the chain and saying, oh, we're just a group of people together making money, understanding that, like, this is why everything's so important to him, because he gotten all these lessons throughout this journey. So really, really dope how they did that. But anyway, Remy Ransom's in the club, and he says, I heard they're setting up shop. And he said, well, we're going to see about that. And they're shooting. Ty Washington gets killed, and that hurt him. That hurt him. And him going back to have to tell his wife, Young Miami, we already knew, as she called him a bad influence earlier, that this was going to just be a very daunting moment. This is where I think the thunder was like the sort of like, oh shit, trouble's on the way, you know? And then she says, where's my husband? She says, make this right. And he says, I promise, or whatnot. Anything you want to add on that? We got 2 more scenes to go here.
Nothing at all. Perfect.
Okay, cool. Rooftop
Young Miami looks amazing. That's
absolutely. Ty, get up, bro. You gotta go home to that. And you already heard what she said. No more. She ain't sharing her dues no more. Yep.
That's all you can say. Just move
That's
on.
all you can say. What was Diddy calling her again? That era faded so quick.
Shorty Wop.
Shorty Wop. Yeah.
I bet you they still together. Look here.
Nah,
Diddy
she said she's
like,
not sharing her man no more. She done. She done, bro.
You know what Diddy's probably like? Nick, I was never your man. So that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Oh my god. We get the rooftop now, which is a really dope scene how they got, and then we got B Mickey pulling the gun on Terry, basically saying, I saw you talking to that hitter in the parking lot. And then Meech pulls the strap on B Mickey, and then he breaks down and says, listen, I'm not losing another brother. We started this together, we ending this together. While all this is happening, you know, they said we need to go directly to the person who's starting to tear us apart. T gets a call from Markeisha letting them know that Boom had got arrested. And this means that all roads lead to Detective Bryant. Last but not least, the detectives, Boom has got brought into the police station. He is snitching. He talks about the Colombian Connect and how it was taken for K9. They also talked about K9, a witness interviewing them and getting them to turn to also give up the Flenories and their cartels. So they're going big time now here. And the last bit of narration of this episode is that everybody's so busy fighting that we're so busy fighting with each other that we can't even see the people are getting close to us. And that is the episode. So with all of that, my last little tidbit is this. You know, again, this episode was a lot of Meech understanding the values of family. He got numerous lessons from different people. Detective Jen is very much suspicious still of Detective Brian. She is absolutely rather having, and again, check out the interview. She'll tell you. But that why we see intimacy, we thinking like, oh, they're a thing now. Trust is a big word, as we talked about trust, as Goldie talked about trust, as Detective Jen have talked about trust. There's themes crossing these different characters that aren't even interacting with each other that are happening in this episode, and family being one, and trust being another. And I just think that as we get ready for the finale next week, man, it's going to be a crazy episode because this one definitely raised the stakes on everything. What else? What you want to add here before we roll?
This was the proper episode 9 that you want from this type of show. But you lay all the cards out on the table so you know exactly what you're getting into in the next episode. I'm just wondering, as much as T loves to attempt to hold B Mickey responsible, will he do the same thing to himself?
No.
Because technically, the only reason Boom would ever snitch because you've been having sex with his wife. Like, I think Meech knows that because Meech has brought it up repeatedly.
Well, he said it. He said it like now that he got him, he knows he is, but like I still don't think he is setting a level of accountability with this now. But I think he's like definitely deflecting, like, oh, well, he got, so now he's going to snitch. Like this was always an option, a possibility. Meech has said this numerous times, sir.
It's not just with Boom. What do you think Markeisha's going to do?
Oh, she'll sing too, as Bryant would say. She'll sing.
So I'm wondering, like, or looking forward to how we close out this season, and do they close off all these issues that they have?
Yeah.
And one of them would have to be possibly Markeisha and Boom not making it to season 3. Don't say ew like that in my ear again. It sounded crazy.
And the only shooter that can do it is B Mickey. So what would that do?
Hey, if you gotta call on B Mickey to be your hitter to clear up your problem.
Does B Mickey close out 2 seasons killing folks and women at that too? A girl and a guy. Does he go 2 for 2? Well, he didn't kill Lamar, but he did go 2 people last season. So anyway, folks, let us know your predictions about the finale for next week. Your early predictions. Let us know your thoughts about tonight's episode. There's a lot to make with it. Check out all the interviews. And as always, y'all know what it is. Check out all of the content on the channel available. Get in the comments. Let us know your questions. We'll be down there. We'll talk to you. And as always, folks, y'all know we're back each and every week. But next week will be our last week of BMF season 2 because it is the finale. And it's such.
And this The first. Oh yeah, because it's a double hitter next week.
Oh, you know what it is. Oh
yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
The end of one and the beginning of the next. Says somebody already went on the internet and told 50 over a phone call, "Hey man, turn that bullshit off next week. We back." It was like, oh, there we go.
Here we are. Here we are. Anyway, folks, thank y'all for tuning in. We'll catch y'all back next week.